Well, you know what we need tonight? We need the welcome back music, right? We need the bum 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 ba-da-da-dum, bum 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 bum. Welcome back. We need the welcome back music. Welcome back, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Welcome back, Dallas Goedert. Welcome back, Kyle Pitts. Welcome back. Very nice. And welcome back, Dave and Heath. How we doing?
Not bad, not bad. Pretty good week of football. I don't think we got crushed too badly by injuries, although there's one really big one that we've got to look out for. But you got to love the huge performances from players who haven't given us one yet. You just mentioned them. I think it's awesome. Joe Burrow looked a lot better. Jamar Chase was on fire. Dallas Goedert was great from the start. Cooper Kupp also had a great game. Jonathan Taylor did absolutely nothing, but eventually he will do some stuff. I'm excited about a lot of the first big games for a lot of players this week.
I can't believe, Heath, I sang Welcome Back and I didn't sing it to Cooper Kupp. Welcome back, Cooper Kupp.
He was fantastic.
How are you doing? You doing fantastic?
I am fantastic. It's been a great Sunday. Just happy to be here with you guys.
It's been a really fun Sunday. You know, we love a 50 fantasy point game from a wide receiver, 52. I thought DJ Moore would be wide receiver 1, and Jamar Chase said, I don't think so. So Chase 52 points, Moore 49 points. Who else cracked the 30-point threshold today, guys? Who do you think?
Well, Tyreek Hill did. He had 32 fantasy points.
He did.
Are we counting quarterbacks?
There are 3 quarterbacks, 2 not including Justin Fields.
Well, I know one that did it that I'm embarrassed by is Jared Goff.
He did, yeah, it was
because I didn't think he was going to need to put up 4 touchdowns, but he did. Home Goff. This is what he does.
All right. Well, I'll just give the rest out. It's ETN, Zach Moss, 23 yards, 165 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 catches for 30 yards. Jared Goff, Tyreek Hill, and Josh Allen. If you watch NFL Red Zone on NFL Network, their version of Red Zone. But I love Scott Hansen. Just think it's funny the way he says Allen, biggest winner, biggest loser. Heath, who's the biggest winner for week 5? Well, it's funny. He's got the accent.
Wow, that was really kind of passive aggressive.
No.
Do we need to spend some time on that?
My favorite host in the business. I just love his accent. That's all I'm saying. He says Allen. It's all. It's not an insult.
Well, leaving room for other people's winners, I'll say the Bengals. We didn't think, and again, I don't know if this changes much besides maybe 1 week of starting him, but I really didn't think that we could start Joe Burrow until week 8 at the earliest, maybe week 9, depending on how he did before the bye. Now we can start Joe Burrow next week. We have no concern about Jamar Chase. We'll feel good about T. Higgins when he's back. Joe Burrow is back. He's fine. No concerns.
I can't tell if you're saying that with like sarcasm or skepticism, or
I don't know what it is about me that when I give a genuine, heartfelt statement, people think that I'm being sarcastic.
Well, I think it every time you give me a compliment. We're done with a show and it's like, great show, Dave. I don't know if you're like,
I don't say it like that.
You do. You do to my ears.
Okay.
What do you No, I think you mean it genuinely. What do you think about his matchup against Seattle at home next week?
I think
they're going to need him to play well.
I'm starting Joe Burrow.
Oh my God. It's great. We love it. Yeah. Back to Burrow and back to Chase. Hopefully Higgins gets back there. Dave, who's your biggest winner?
Jaleel McLaughlin is the best running back in Denver, and he didn't even have the most snaps in the game. We saw in the second half, Samaje Perine took over, but man, when he gets the ball, he's a lot of fun. And Javonte Williams, it sounds like he was close to coming back with the hip, but he was not made active. It was an opportunity for Jaleel McLaughlin to go out and play, and I thought he looked good. 9 carries, that's it. 68 yards, that's great. 7.6 yards per carry. 4 targets, 3 catches, 21 yards, a touchdown. A great fantasy day, and I think more will be coming for McLaughlin because the Broncos now 1-4. How close are they to turning the page to next year and starting to play more of the guys that they want to get a nice long look at? Is it happening already? Does this happen this soon?
Is that not Javonte Williams, though? That's my question, right? He's still got to be a part of it.
I think they know already. I really like McLaughlin.
Yeah, I like him too. I don't know how much I like him if Javonte's back. I think that's going to cloud things up a little bit, but we'll see. And he's like I said, it's like the A-Chain thing. He just makes plays. He's like a worse version of A-Chan, who is averaging over 12 yards per carry in the first, I think, 38 carries of his career. All right, biggest loser, Dave. Who's our biggest loser this week?
Who did I send you for my losers? Oh, Ramondre Stevenson is just a humongous loser. I still don't think it's all on him, but the Patriots offense is just an absolute sinkhole. Offensive line isn't any good. They took on the Saints. It's a tough defense. Who cares? And it's still, they've now played 5 games. They have 1 snap inside the 5-yard line this entire season. I'm going to keep saying the stat. You're going to get sick of me saying it, but you'll be more sick of starting Ramondre Stevenson moving forward.
Okay. At Las Vegas.
I will say there is one thing to say. He does have Las Vegas next week.
Yeah. He's had a pretty.
I don't think I care. I don't think I care. I think it's bad.
All right. Heath, who's your biggest loser?
I'll go with another AFC East running back. James Cook, 5 carries, -4 yards.
Yeah.
Really fantastic. At least the receiving yards overhit.
See, you just said really fantastic. And you say it in the same tone that you say almost anything. So we know that was sarcastic because James Cook was a bum, but I'm just talking about your voice here.
Yeah. Someone thinks Heath is great at Udo because he has such a good poker face. But all right, so just a bad game for James Cook or troubling
I think
future?
I was viewing him as a borderline RB1 rest of season. I thought that his role was cemented. Not that he would get all the touches, and definitely not all the touches inside the 10, but that he'd have enough touches on a week-to-week basis to where you could always feel good about starting him. This was a little bit of a nick in that. I'm not ready. I'll probably still start him next week, depending on who they play or if they play.
Would you like to know who they play?
They do.
I would, Dave. Can you look that up?
They play the New York
Giants,
Football Giants.
Right.
I'm probably going to start him next week, but the Giants defense really stepped up today. I could not believe. I mean this in all sincerity.
What?
They played a great football game today.
Okay,
they hung in there, but they got blasted on the ground.
They turned the Dolphins over 3 different times. They
did.
scored a touchdown. They sacked him a few times.
They scored a defensive.
If that offense had anything at all, that could have been a competitive game.
Entirely possible.
They gave up 524 total yards.
It's the Dolphins. They're the greatest offense in the history of football.
9.7 yards per play to 3.9 yards per play.
They're reinventing the game.
Start James Cook next week. And hopefully, just a bad game.
I think game script got him. He played 63% of the snaps. He played 2 of 3 snaps inside the 10.
Tell you something. I actually didn't bring this up, and I meant to. I felt like maybe the Jaguars would have an advantage in this game, having stayed in London for a week, and the Bills making a long trip. And only they will know if that actually mattered, but maybe it mattered. All right, let's promote something here. Let's promote Sportsline, guys. Because you guys have content on Sportsline. So, Dave, tell us what we can get. Sportsline's only $9.99 a month. It's a great gambling website, but also it's becoming better and better with fantasy as well. Like all the Jacob Gibbs stuff is on Sportsline. $9.99 a month for this type of content is an absolute steal. And Dave, what can we get from you?
So first and foremost, it is not just a betting site. So there are people who are listening right now. They have no interest in betting. We're not trying to make you interested in betting. There is fantasy content on there, but there is betting stuff on there too. So if you do like to dabble a little bit, it's not a bad idea to look. And I do list some player props on there every single week. But as far as fantasy goes, yes, Jacob Gibbs has some great stuff on there. Heath, I believe you can talk about everything that you give to Sportsline, but behind the Sportsline paywall, and again, it's not that much money per month, is the in-season projected strength of schedule. I do this every week, and I update it every week. 4 different ways for every defense every week, and every NFL team's schedule is updated so you can get a look at which teams have a favorable schedule the rest of the year, or just the next 4 weeks, or in the playoff weeks 15 through 17. That's something that's part of the built-in value of Sportsline. Heath, what are you giving Sportsline?
I am giving Sportsline my all weekly projections. No, I am 100%. Every player that I project, that projection is on Sportsline every week by Tuesday evening, maybe Wednesday morning. And then when I go into the spreadsheet and change somebody's projection, even before I update my rankings, it's updated in the sports line projections. So constantly updating projections on a weekly basis. And then also the dynasty trade chart, which used to be updated once per month in season, now updated once per week in season, both a super flex and 1 QB dynasty trade chart. And no, I probably shouldn't say that part. You wouldn't believe how good a deal it is.
Yeah, no, it really is.
It's a sick deal.
Yes. I mean, really, and it's only $9.99 a month, and you can get the first month for $1 with promo code Heath.
Or promo code Richard.
Or not promo code Bake Burgers, unfortunately, but promo code Heath, promo code Richard, whatever you want to use there. All right, news and notes. So Anthony Richardson left with a shoulder injury. I was really worried. I think everybody's probably worried it was a collarbone injury, but x-rays were negative. So we'll see on Richardson. Gardner Minshew in 2 quarterback leagues could become interesting. Travis Kelce left in the second quarter. They said it was a high ankle sprain. He came back in the game. He caught a touchdown. But they have a Thursday game against Denver. So I don't know that we should just assume Kelce will play on Thursday. A high ankle sprain. I mean, look, remember.
I don't know what they're going to do against the Broncos if they don't have Travis Kelce.
Remember, Barkley had a high ankle sprain on a Sunday. Brian Dable started talking about him playing on Thursday against the Niners. He's missed 3 weeks now. Justin Jefferson left in the fourth quarter with a hamstring injury. I probably should have led with that. Sorry. Kind of went in chronological order. But Jefferson left with a hamstring injury. We just got a note from Kevin O'Connell. Well, not from Kevin O'Connell, but from Twitter about O'Connell saying it's too early to tell the severity of Jefferson's injury. And, man, you really want him next week, every week, obviously, but at the Bears. And I'll tell you this right now, KJ Osborne, he has 14 games in his career with 6 or more targets. He has a touchdown in 10 of them. So, if you're in a pinch, let's see.
He's available in only 82% of CBS Sports leagues.
He is not. I mean, he was okay for fantasy today, but he has not been good this year.
But this is a huge opportunity.
He got an end zone target today and literally ducked.
This thing, he threw it really hard, Heath. Jeez. Daniel Jones left with a neck injury. His status unclear right now. James Conner left with a knee injury. And Keontae Ingram has been out with a neck injury. So it was DeMarcado. What the heck is this? Amari DeMarcado.
You nailed it.
10 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown.
TCU running back.
Undrafted free agent. Let's see what else here. Tank Dell left in the second quarter with a concussion. Zay Jones left with a knee injury. And the Buffalo Bills, another huge injury on defense. Matt Milano, star linebacker, probably out for the year. Broken leg. Also defensive tackle Daquan Jones left in the first quarter. I saw Jeffrey Simmons left. I don't know if he came back for the Titans.
He did.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Detroit cornerback Emmanuel Mosley left in the first half with a knee injury. He did not come back there at Tampa Bay. Jets lost Elijah Vera Tucker, the starting offensive lineman.
Could be season ending.
Oh, really?
Could be the same thing Aaron Rodgers had.
Chargers upcoming for the Jets, who are starting to play a little better.
Did you mention Mekhi Becton also for the Jets?
He came back.
He did? I thought he came back and then left again.
Oh.
I can double check it.
Yeah, I know you can. Becton. So we'll check on Becton. Patrick McCarry for the Ravens, another offensive lineman. He left with an injury. Falcons offensive lineman Caleb McGarry left with an injury. A Patriots lineman left with an ankle injury. We saw that scary injury for Carolina guard Chandler Zavala, but he's out of the hospital. And thankfully, that's good news there for him. He had that neck injury. A quick early waiver wire, Heath. I mentioned KJ Osborne as someone. We got the James Conner situation. We got the Jefferson situation. We got the Richardson situation. Anyway, give me your waiver wire.
Yeah, we'll see what James Conner does, but it's probably going to be Eddie or Amari DeMarcado, running back for the Arizona Cardinals. Osborne would go before him if Justin Jefferson's going to miss an extended period of time.
Okay. I know he's not super available, but I think Stafford's pretty interesting. Not even a great game today, 222 yards, but he scored about 21 points. He's got the Cardinals this week. He's got the Steelers after that. Those teams really struggle to cover anyone. But that's someone I'll be looking at if I started him over Joe Burrow today, so that was great. But
worked out really well, just almost as well as Joshua Dobbs.
I didn't start him, thankfully. All right, we got a lot of time to talk about the waiver wire. Buy or sell coming up next, plus more winners and losers. We'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today. Welcome back, everybody, to the show. Let's do some buy or sell. Dave already did this one, but Heath, you can do it now. Buy or sell, Jaleel McLaughlin is the best Denver Broncos running back rest of season in fantasy.
Woof. I think this is one of those situations where if I had to, like, I only get to pick one, I would take Jaleel McLaughlin. If I get Javonte and P. Ryan and you get McLaughlin, I'll take the other two. But he has a good shot. I mostly agree with you. I think when Javonte comes back, he's not going to go away. Now, maybe P. Ryan goes away, but he probably leads all Broncos running backs in targets at this point and had some pretty big plays in the passing game today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He led the team in receiving today, Samaje P. Ryan.
That's a good day. It's a good day for the offense. Samaje P. Ryan leads your team in receiving.
How did Russell Wilson score 22 points today? I mean, like Jaleel McLaughlin, that one day.
This was his second game out of 5 with over 40 rushing yards, right?
Yeah, that's how he did it. 7 carries, 49 yards.
Yeah, I don't know, man. He had the phone. Yeah, he did it. Good for him. All right, buy or sell. Stop asking about Puka Nacua. You're starting him every week.
Bye.
Yeah, I'll buy it.
Great touchdown too, and that was against man coverage. His touchdown on Bradbury, no less. Good play.
Dave, I want you to look something up for me.
Yeah, what should it be?
How many passing yards did Matthew Stafford have in the second half? Because I feel like it was 6.
I was going to guess 4, so I don't think you're far off.
He had 147 at halftime. He finished the game with 222. Everybody break out your calculator.
75.
5.
Heath's always going to get these fast.
Who won? We're tied. We was a clear tie.
No.
I rule in favor of Heath Cummings.
Oh my God.
I rule in favor of Heath Cummings. I don't know. That was my Heath. Bad Heath voice.
It was Heath.
Oh, she the hell out of here.
Thank you.
For coming in.
All right. You should sell high on Devon Achane before it's too late. 11 carries, 151 yards, and a touchdown, and 1 catch. So that's over the last 2 games. He has 8 carries and 11 carries for a combined 252 yards and 3 touchdowns. You should sell high on Devon Achane before it's too late. Buy or sell.
Oh, I'm selling that, and I'm sticking with Achane as the best Dolphins running back the rest of the way. There were some interesting things with the snaps this week, however. Mostert played 59%. He had half of their 3rd and 4th down snaps. He played 5 of 7 snaps inside the 10. There could be a fooled you game coming along the way for Devon Achane, but man, I think fantasy managers would almost accept it at this point because he's been so amazing. He's been such a weak winner so far that even if there was a game that came along where he only had 100 total yards, fantasy managers would forgive him and continue to start him.
It's kind of a tough one to evaluate, right? I mean, the touches are bad.
It depends on what you mean. That I wouldn't put too much into the touches are bad. Because when you average 10 yards per carry, you can't have 25 rushes at 10 yards a carry. That doesn't work. Because you score so often that you have to give the other team the ball.
Yeah.
I don't worry about that so much. I do think there's a case to be made that he has a higher injury risk than the average running back. And he is the hottest thing in fantasy right now. And so you might I think it's possible you should at least check on selling high on him to see how high you can sell.
I mean, like Tony Pollard. I know he still has a
Yeah, I never want to say anything.
No, we're aiming higher than that.
Pollard.
I want
there's
what you
not
got
many
for
more running backs that are higher.
I'm not trying to trade him for another running back. I want to get another top 12 running back and another starter.
Okay. All
and
right.
Turn him into Jonathan Taylor.
And
do I want to turn him into Jonathan Taylor? Who would you rather
let's
have?
go get Jonathan Taylor and Puka Nacua.
I mean, we can all make wishes, Heath.
Wait a second.
I don't think you're going to make that happen. Not with Achane by himself.
You think who do you like better rest of season, Taylor or Achane?
Achane.
I think I'd lean Taylor, but Achane's just been so amazing. It's really hard to say. His value is going to be higher than Taylor's next week. I guarantee you that.
I almost made the case that Taylor was a loser today.
Yeah, I think it's
come?
worth mentioning. I mean, how good has Zach Moss been? Did they just go away from Zach Moss and treat him like a
No.
true backup?
No, but eventually Moss is going to turn into Zach Moss. And when that happens, that's when you'll see more of Jonathan Taylor.
He also has to turn back into Jonathan Taylor because he wasn't him today.
Okay. Can I ask you guys a question? Do I need to have Peacock to watch this game online? I don't think so, right? What's going on here?
What do you mean?
I'm trying to watch the game.
Don't you have a TV?
No, not at the moment. Not in this room.
I can watch it on my phone on YouTube TV.
Oh,
Like, who's your cable provider or your internet provider?
ABC. I mean, it should be on the website. All right. But buy or sell.
The way things work.
No, it is. It's on NBC Sports every week. I don't know what's going on. Is that Peacock? You should sell high on Adam Thielen before it's too late.
So here's the problem with that. Nobody's going to give you something amazing for Adam Thielen because it's Adam Thielen. So the fantasy manager that has Adam Thielen understands just how great he's been, and he's been great. But if you go around to your league mates and you say, all right, guys, Adam Thielen, who wants him? Come on, get in line. There's no line. No one's going to want him.
I know that's true in our leagues, Dave. I know that's true in analyst leagues for sure. But I also know there's a lot of leagues, like when you say because he's Adam Thielen, I mean, if you're just a casual player who's been playing the last 10 years, Adam Thielen's been one of the top 12 to 15 wide receivers in the NFL. And now he is again.
I've got leagues where I play with casual players too. No one's going to bite on Thielen at the value that he's worth because of how he's been putting up great numbers. You won't accept a trade for him because people are going to lowball you because it's Adam Thielen. I'm telling you right now.
I don't think Adam Thielen carries such a terrible name.
Yeah. Okay.
And you know what?
You might get offered, like, in full PPR, Isaiah Pacheco straight up for him. There's no way you won't do it unless you're desperate for a running back.
I think you're underrating. You might be underrating Adam Thielen a little bit. Yeah. I don't know. Or you know what? I think there's gonna be a lot of people that think like you, Dave. I think there's gonna be a lot of people that think like Heath. And I think there's a big wide range of perceived value for Adam Thielen. He's getting it done every week, man. 11 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown on 13 targets. That's 4 straight games with at least 15 PPR fantasy points and 2 absolutely monster games, 100+ yards and a touchdown in the last 3.
And the Panthers are terrible and can't run.
Yeah. So I don't know how to value him. I mean, would you rather have Puka Nacua or Adam Thielen?
Thielen.
You're going to get more for Nacua in a trade.
Would you rather have Thielen or Nacua, Dave?
I think I'd rather have Nacua.
If you guys are telling me that it's at least close between Thielen and Nacua, then I don't know that he's really a sell high. I would just hold. If you think he's going to be that good, well, maybe I think a lot higher of Nacua because I don't want to trade away Puka Nacua necessarily. You know, I'm always interested in upgrading, but I think Nacua is going to be a must-start guy. Do you think Thielen's going to be a must-start guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's just not going to be an expensive commodity in trades.
Okay. Buy or sell. Patrick Mahomes is not a top 5 quarterback rest of season.
Sell.
Buy or sell. Patrick Mahomes is not a top 3 quarterback rest of season.
So
I think I'm selling that too, but I don't know if I can say he's number 1.
Oh, he's definitely not number 1.
I wouldn't say he's definitely not number 1, but
you got to take Josh Allen.
I don't know how much more garbage time Josh Allen's going to get.
Garbage time. They've won the last 3 games before this week. They won by like 30 points, and he kept putting up huge numbers in blowout wins. Not a single rushing yard today for Mahomes, which was weird. And he scored.
He got his calf dinged up really early in that game. Got sandwiched. Pacheco blew a pass protection, and he got sandwiched between 2 defenders and hurt his calf. He was limping even when Kelsey was out.
Buy or sell. DeAndre Hopkins is back. Yeah.
Oh, I want to buy it so bad.
That was literally my believe it or not, because I don't even today when you sent me the buy or sell beforehand, I didn't ever read them because there was a fundamental disagreement between Dave and I in the text messages that if our winners and losers are the same guys, that actually saves us time because we can just not talk about our winners and losers.
Yeah, of course.
So I didn't read your thing, but I have
can answer the
Matt
question.
Harmon. This is a good time to mention this. Matt Harmon coming on FFT Dynasty on Tuesday. And Jacob Gibbs sent me a list of wide receivers that he wanted to ask Matt about, and then says, anybody you want to ask him about? And Hopkins and Thielen were the two guys that I wanted to ask him about. Like, how do they look compared to the league? And then how do they look compared to who they were?
Mm-hmm.
Because I mostly believe that Hopkins is back. Not top 3 wide receiver back, but top 15 wide receiver back.
Okay.
I don't know if he's that high. They've got some tough matchups. It's Baltimore next week, then a bye. Atlanta's coming up. I'm encouraged by the time that Tannehill had to throw today. I really feel like a lot of the production came because they played in Indianapolis. And Indy is just not great at getting to quarterbacks or covering wide receivers. So I'm a little nervous about overrating Hopkins. But as far as how he looks, I saw this last week while watching him play. He doesn't look like an old wide receiver that's been around a long time. He's moving real well. If he were on a different team, I don't think there'd be any question that he'd be back. Being on Tennessee, not ready to say he's a top 15 receiver the rest of the way.
All right, let's do our winners and our losers here. And Dave's winners are Jaleel McLaughlin, who we've talked about. How about Tajay Spears, who had 7 carries, 34 yards, and a touchdown, and 4 catches for 35 yards. And Jordan Addison, who had 6 catches, 64 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets against the Chiefs. Justin Jefferson, of course, leaving that game in the fourth quarter. But Tajay Spears and Jordan Addison, Dave.
Tajay Spears played 53% of the snaps. That's actually less than Henry. They did play some snaps together. Henry was at 59%, but almost all the high-value touches went to Tajay Spears. 13 of 14 on 3rd and 4th downs. That's been the case all season long. He's been playing in that role. 2 of 3 snaps inside the 10 went to Spears. And he gives this Titans offense an element that they haven't really had in a long time, which is just a super fast, versatile running back. And I kind of want that guy on my fantasy team, knowing that Derrick Henry is kind of slowing down a little bit. Yes, he's still physical, tough to bring down, but he just doesn't have, he never really had an amazing burst, but he seems a little bit slower. And I wonder if they're going to continue to work in Spears a little bit more.
Okay.
It reminds me of that, I don't know, was it a half a season we had of Dontrell Hilliard where he was their number 2 wide receiver also? Because they used him quite a bit, especially on 3rd and 5 or less. They were looking to Spears a lot.
Yeah, right. It's just obviously he's a great handcuff. I don't know how bad Derrick Henry could ever be that they would get away from him. He's a franchise.
But I think he could be. I think he could be what we were hoping that AJ Dillon would be, and be maybe flex worthy through the buys.
All right, Jordan Addison, Dave. Great game. He comes back from a 0 catch game and has a big one here.
Sure. And I was a little nervous about just how much work he'd end up getting. And I could look into seeing how many of his targets came after Justin Jefferson got hurt, but it doesn't really matter. He had a great game even before then. 9 targets, 6 catches, 64 yards, and a touch. Continues to be a very big part of this Vikings offense when they actually throw the football. They threw the football a lot today. 47 attempts for Kirk Cousins. What am I looking at? 13, 14, 15 runs, 14 for their running backs, 1 for Brandon Powell. I think Addison is at minimum a flex must start every week, and he could eventually become a number 2 wide receiver in this offense for fantasy managers if there's no Justin Jefferson.
All right, Heath's winners, Amari DeMarcado, backup running back for the Cardinals. Joe Burrow, Cincinnati, who he discussed earlier. And Dallas Goedert, 8 catches, 117 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets. And that was after 0, 22, 41, and 25 yards in his first 4 games. Goedert was started in 67% of leagues. Why don't you start with Goedert, and then we'll talk about the Cardinals' backfield.
Yeah, and I think we mostly were on the same page. He doesn't project well, but you should just keep starting Dallas Goedert because he's going to have one of those weeks, and he had one of those weeks. It was nice to get that confirmation. I'm still concerned he won't quite live up to the ADP or where I had him ranked, but I do feel confident enough now to just, especially the next 2 weeks against good matchups, just leave him in my lineup. Plan on a couple of bad weeks and then hopefully a monster.
Would
Wanna
you
hear
rather
something
have?
cool about him?
Let me ask this real quick. Would you rather
Yeah.
have Pitts, who came off a big game today, or Goddard rest of season?
Goddard.
Same. He plays Seattle, the Giants, and the Cardinals in weeks 15 through 17. You won't find a tight end with an easier schedule in the fantasy playoffs as things stand now than Dallas Goedert.
Nice. Okay, and then the Cardinals backfield. So Ingram was hurt. I don't know how long he's out, but what's your take on how to approach this?
The bigger thing for me, like obviously we're going to add, as long as there's doubt about Connor, DeMarcado is going to get added in a lot of leagues. I do think that he probably got elevated even if Connor is back. Keontae Ingram's been mostly terrible whenever they've given him the football. His value was that he was a backup running back behind an older running back with an injury history. I have little confidence that Ingram will still be the backup running back now when he comes back. So I think DeMarcado might be a 1 week starter. He might be a good handcuff behind an old running back with an injury history.
On a sneaky sleeper.
Yeah.
Because I don't think DeMarcado is going to do it all by himself. He did today. He was their lead. He played 100% of the running back snaps. Rondale Moore had, I'm looking to see if he had a season high in touches today. And I bet he did.
He led the team in rushing.
Yeah. So, like, not only did he lead the team in rushing, not a season high in catches. He only had 3 today. Yeah. He had 4 a couple of weeks ago. But this is a season high for him in total touches, 76 total yards. I wonder if he got more involved because Connor got hurt and will stay more involved if Connor doesn't make the next game. Arizona plays the Rams in week number 6.
We go over to our losers here. Heath has Cortland Sutton, who had 1 catch for 13 yards on 3 targets against the Jets. Garrett Wilson, who saw a lot of Patrick Surtain. And what an interception by Surtain, by the way, late in that game. Almost turned the game. Garrett Wilson, 3 catches, 54 yards on 7 targets. He was started in 92% of leagues. And James Cook, we already talked about, who had 5 carries for -4 yards and 3 catches for 25 yards against the Jaguars in London. So let's discuss Sutton and Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Wilson, it was just that hope that we had seen Zach Wilson turn a corner and was going to be a little bit better may have been dashed, or at least threw a little water on the flame. Maybe there's a slight little ember there. But the other thing is Breece Hall was so awesome. What we saw last year when Zach Wilson started is they just didn't throw it very much. They ran the ball a ton and they threw it to their running backs a lot. And if Breece Hall's this good, then they don't have the need to be high volume in a lot of games. And then Garrett Wilson's not going to get 14 targets. He's going to get 8. Now, that being said, I still think Garrett Wilson's a start every week because what we've seen so far is that his range is 8 in a bad game and 14 or 15 in a good game. And that's a guy that you start as a number 2 wide receiver. It's just I had kind of hoped that Garrett Wilson could still be a low-end number 1 with Zach Wilson, at least in a great matchup like this one.
But it wasn't a great matchup. That's the thing.
I mean, number 1 wide receivers had destroyed this defense.
But okay, that's the thing. That's what's tricky about it, because sometimes Surtain sticks to wide receivers like glue, and sometimes he doesn't. So, for example, against Washington, Terry McLaurin caught a touchdown. At that point, he wasn't really covering McLaurin. After that point, he shadowed McLaurin. Week 1, he did a very good job against Devontae Adams. Adams had a fine game, but he did a very good job against Devontae Adams. DJ Moore scored super late against the backup. I don't remember the other game. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of DJ Moore against the Chiefs.
The Dolphins game.
The Dolphins, yeah. I mean, the Dolphins are the Dolphins, but he was on Wilson probably more than I even thought he would be.
Right.
At least from what I saw. I don't have the final numbers or anything. I even saw a play where he followed him into the slot. So that's the kind of thing about Denver. It's like, yes, it is a good matchup because they stink, but they got healthier this week, and they always have Surtain, who's kind of a wrench in the plan.
He hadn't been so far this season to anyone.
Right. And counterpoint is Garrett Wilson is a good enough wide receiver where if he has a capable quarterback, you would think that he could outwork any corner.
Yes.
Okay. At least that's how I view him. And I think, Heath, you agree with me.
Yep.
But to me, this was more about the combination of Zach Wilson not being great and Breece Hall being great.
I don't remember who was calling that game, but with that interception to Surtain was a terrible throw. He said, like, if you're going to miss, that's fine. Miss. You have to miss to the outside. You cannot miss to the inside on the play.
He's just not a great quarterback. And I was hesitant to crown him after last week's game. And now we're right back where we started with Zach Wilson. And his offensive line is going to be worse moving forward.
All right. Dave's losers, Ramondre Stevenson, and then two other running backs who continue to struggle.
I don't think we said anything about Cortland Sutton.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You should play the Adam You Were Right clip. Because we weren't quite worried enough about the Jets defense.
Yeah, or their offense. It turns out.
Yeah.
Adam, you were right.
There we go. And Sutton just got completely shut down today. It was disgusting.
Adam, did you see if Sauce Gardner followed him around?
So he never follows guys around. I'm pretty sure he always stays at left.
I do believe he had the tackle on the lone Sutton catch. So whatever that's worth.
Hey, Mr. Start of the Week. What do you think? Can you help me out next week or what?
I think I might.
Yeah, I keep begging Jamie, please make Trevor Lawrence the start of the week. It would really help me out so much. Who do they have next week?
Indianapolis.
Oh, I could see it. I could feel it, man. All right, let's get to Dave's losers here, Dave.
Wow, Gardner Minshew going back home?
Yes,
we have.
There's the start of the week right there. Come on.
We have two revenge game narratives next week from quarterbacks with backups. Tyrod Taylor against the Bills too.
Oh wow!
Don't say that. What does it matter? Fine, put Tyrod Taylor in. All right, we got Najee Harris, 14 carries for 37 yards and one catch for 3 yards, and Miles Sanders, who kind of wishes he were Najee Harris. Dave, what do you think of these two guys?
They stink, and fantasy managers need to think twice before automatically starting them. Jamie, you and Heath kind of put Najee on notice during our live show today that Warren had outproduced him in decimal scoring PPR every single week this season. He did it again. Najee played 55% of the snaps, had almost none of the high value touches. Warren did 49% of the snaps. Again, a couple of plays where they both were on the field. 13 to 15 snaps on 3rd and 4th down, 2 of 3 snaps inside the 10. And Warren just continues to look a little bit better than Najee. And it was a step back for Najee. Going to have a tough time trusting him. They're on a bye next week, so you're going to have to hang on to both these running backs through the bye. And then it's the Rams, the Jaguars, the Titans. I think it's 2 more weeks with these running backs. You've got to see what they do then. Maybe you're starting one of them from week to week. Your scoring system might apply. But if they are not doing anything by the time that week 8 wraps, I think they're ornaments for your bench.
I think we should talk about Breece Hall and his huge game. And Jamie, 5 for 5 now for start of the week. You think you should just retire it, I think. But he gets the Eagles next week, which is never easy. But 22 carries, 177 yards and a touchdown. And he gets 3 catches on top of it. So rest of season, Breece Hall. How many running backs would you take over Breece Hall? McCaffrey, Eckler, Bijan, Barkley?
Etienne.
You would take Etienne over Hall?
Yeah.
Whoa, that's interesting. Anyone else?
No,
anyone else would take Etienne over Hall?
I think I'd take Hall.
Dave, you want to break the tie?
I don't know if I can break the tie.
Pass.
I like him. I think Hall's going to get more work.
See results, Dave. See results.
I'm see results.
But you definitely take Hall over Derrick Henry.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rashad White.
Who?
What?
Are you kidding?
Just throw that out.
You said Pollard and Bijan, right?
I didn't say Pollard because he's playing now. I don't think I said Bijan.
I would take Bijan over both those guys. I would take Pollard over both those guys.
I'm not sure about Pollard.
Let's reserve judgment. Why don't we just play that?
Yeah. I mean, Etienne's kind of the new Pollard. The new Pollard's more exciting than the old Pollard.
So, I mean, it sounds like
kinda
Breece
true.
Hall's a second round pick if we were drafting today. I bet some people would take him in the first round. But
I mean, that's kind of what we said, right? They got to see him back to being himself and, getting to the point where, the team is comfortable with him. Robert Saleh said that this week. It was a great matchup. I mean, that's a big part of it. This is going to be a big test in week 6, taking on the Eagles. I hope Becton's healthy. He left the game, so if they're down Dwayne Brown and Becton, that's not exactly the most ideal situation against a very good defensive front. And look, Zach Wilson played well against the Chiefs. He played okay against the Broncos. it's going to be tough against Philadelphia. Just when he's under pressure, it's going to be hard for him. So, we could be sitting here next Sunday and saying, why are we all in on Breece Hall again? But the way that he looked, explosive, opportunity, he's making Dalvin Cook look like a shell of himself, which, I don't know if it was more him or just what we've seen of Dalvin Cook the last 3 weeks. But yeah, there's a lot to be excited about with Breece Hall.
All right, good stuff. So we'll get into the games in a little bit. The goal line work, I don't know if there's anything really to report, but the Dolphins guys were kind of switching off down there.
It was more Mostert than Achane.
You know what? It was, but they both played. Like, it could easily be more Achane than Mostert next week.
That's what it was the past 2 weeks.
Exactly. I think we should mention Lamar Jackson really had a terrible game. His wide receivers let him down, and Andrews too. Yep. 2 drop touchdowns. One sequence they were on consecutive plays, so it's not like he would have gotten both of them. But Flowers dropped a long pass on the first possession. Flowers, I think, fell down on a deep ball later. So Lamar Jackson got kind of screwed on that.
Bateman doesn't look like he should be playing in the NFL right now. He was bad.
Rough game. DeAndre Hopkins nearly caught a touchdown from Derrick Henry. They couldn't stay in bounds. It would have been 2 straight weeks for Henry with a passing touchdown. Khalif Raymond almost scored a touchdown. If you started him, he came up a yard short, and then 2 plays later, Josh Reynolds caught one. And I think this segment, the almost touchdown segment, is actually brought to you by Joe Mixon, who kept plowing into the line of scrimmage at the 1 yard line. I need you to look something up during the break, Dave, which of course is 1 second long for us. I think that Joe Mixon, 85% of his runs have been up the middle this year. I swear. The guy never bounces. He's just always running.
Oh, that's Zach Taylor. That's his MO.
Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy, man. I don't know if he's just not capable of anything else, but I'd love to know that stat. We'll take a break. We'll go to London when we come back on Fantasy Football Today. All right, Jacksonville with a nice win over Buffalo, 25-20. Don't really know if it lived up to game of the week, but it was good enough. I have a new game. Instead of Believe It or Not, Heath, I want you to give a statement of the game.
I love that you're telling me this right now.
Statement about the game, and then we're going to decide if it's sarcasm or not.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the first one is a good one for that.
Okay, go Jacksonville, Buffalo. Go ahead.
Trevor Lawrence is an even better buy low. He was the big buy low last week. Good sarcasm. Game. Bad fantasy points again.
Yeah.
I don't think Heath believes that. I think this game is confusing.
Indy, and then at New Orleans, and then at Pittsburgh, and then his bye. And then some interesting matchups, some tough matchups for ETN. You could almost make the case that ETN is a sell high if you can get a lot for him. I'd like to know if Zay Jones is going to be healthy and ready to go. If Zay Jones will play, then I might be a little more encouraged to start Lawrence, but I don't know how many 30-point games he's going to have moving forward. He's like a low-end QB1.
I have a take on the Jaguars. And
he looked awesome today.
He did. Right? I thought he played great, but
that's kind of the point.
They get no big plays. They get no chunk plays. So they have to dink and dunk down the field.
I mean, he had 3 receivers with a 22 or more yard reception.
Yeah, but okay. But they really, like, they don't hit the home run. And going into the game, they're one of the worst in terms of explosive plays, but they always make some mistake that screws up their drive. It's a fumble, it's a drop, it's a penalty, and
it's out of bounds.
It's killing them. It's really costing them a lot of points. That's what I'm noticing. I think that's why the fantasy production is not catching up to the quality of play, and I don't know if that's going to change. Like, who's their downfield guy? Nobody's making plays downfield.
I think the bigger issue is the red zone, and I don't know if it's a Trevor Lawrence thing, if it's a Doug Peterson thing, or if it's just been a bad luck thing so far. I know early in his career, like a lot of rookie quarterbacks, he struggled in the red zone, struggled with touchdowns. And by year 3, he's improved so much everywhere else. You would have expected that problem to correct itself. And we've talked about it. There's the multiple throws out of the back of the end zone one week. And then there's the couple of drops in a couple other weeks. And then this week it was the sacks and the fumbles. But I think they've been a disaster in the red zone.
He's also been a disaster on third downs. He came into this week with a 50% completion rate on third downs. There's so many little things going wrong. That's really what it comes down to. We've been making the case for him as a buy low all year long. He still will be. Hopefully, he has a great game next week against Indy.
Yeah, I don't know if this matters to you, but they don't rank that low in terms of like 20 yard plays, 25-yard plays. Through 5 games, they have 1 40-yard completion. So I'm cherry picking the numbers a little bit, but
that's so unlike you. That's
not what you would expect from them. You know, you'd expect more big plays from them. But all right. Anyway, ETN, role continues to be great. Christian Kirk. Jamie, thoughts on Kirk versus Ridley rest of season? Both good games today.
I mean, Dave sort of hit on this. Zay Jones is an interesting part of this because what it looked like early in this game, and you go back to week 1, which was his best fantasy game, it involves Zay Jones, and so is that the big play threat that was missing? And we saw that last year. He had a lot of big plays for them. So, having that option on the field, I think is important. But I think you just view them as number 2 receivers rest of the way. Like I don't know what you would do differently with Christian Kirk at this point because he's been so good for the last 4 games. Week 1 was the outlier. And then you come into, this game with Calvin Ridley. He needed this performance, really, because I think a lot of people were so frustrated. Had the touchdown against Atlanta. But besides that, it's just been a disaster since week 1. And then who is he facing in week 6? He's facing the Colts again, who he destroyed in week 1. So building off of that game, I think, is easy to expect. Building off the Bills game, is easy to expect. And so I just think you look at it as start them unless you just have great options otherwise.
I think at least 7 targets in 4 or 5 games for Ridley. At least 6 targets for each of Kirk's last 4 games. Remember, Kirk had that terrible game against Indy in week 1. I think you're right. I think they're both number 2 receivers. The problem is what if you have both of them? Who's better from week to week? That'll give you headaches, but I think Ridley will probably be better rest of the season.
I guess in a 2 wide receiver league, that might be a problem. I don't know. Like I've got both of them in our IDP league. We start 3 wide receivers, and I just would never consider sitting either one.
Okay. Ridley was started in 78% of leagues, Kirk in 63% of leagues. On the other side of the ball, what do we do with Gabe Davis? He was started in 71% of leagues, which is nice work.
Yeah.
6 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. That's 4 straight games with a touchdown. He had 8 targets. How many passes for Josh Allen today? He threw 40 times. What do we do with Gabe Davis, Heath?
You rank him somewhere between 28 and 36 every week. And if he scores a touchdown, you're going to look really smart. And if he doesn't, it's going to be one of those bad weeks. But I think he's just the quintessential number 3 wide receiver that I like to have as my number 3 because he has this type of upside on a weekly basis. But he's going to have a low floor game in the next week or 2 as well.
All right, let's go to our next game. Heath, let's just go back to believe it or not. I confused myself.
Okay.
Sarcastic thing. New Orleans 34 and New England nothing. I believe I heard the 2 worst losses of Bill Belichick's career back-to-back weeks, last week and this week. Heath, what do we got for this game?
I would believe that if you meant Patriots' career, but it's kind of hard to believe that includes all of his careers. The Patriots do not have any fantasy starters.
They play Las Vegas next week. I think they've got at least 1, maybe 1.
Who?
Ramondre. Low end number 2 running back.
But if we don't take it week by week, do the Patriots have a fantasy starter? Is Hunter Henry a better starter at his position than Ramondre is at his?
Hunter Henry, who had no catches today.
Ramondre Stevenson, who's had like the worst season ever. I mean,
at least he scored a fantasy point.
But Henry has had 3 games with 50 yards. Like I don't like either of them. But this happens with tight ends. I'm wondering who's better at their respective position, Stevenson or Henry?
Stevenson. These are the only 2 guys you can consider. I mean, if you're holding on to any of the receivers, why at this point? And you got to wonder at some point, are they going to make a complete quarterback change and not just wait until they're getting blown out by 30 points to go to Bailey Zappi? It's a bad situation right now for the Patriots. You would assume facing the Raiders would help, especially the Raiders will be on a short week. So we'll see what their team looks like coming out of that game against the Packers. But wow, it's tough. It's really, really tough. The quarterback plays bad. The offensive line is not producing. The run game's awful. That's the one thing I think you thought they could hang their hat on is at least they would be able to run the ball with some success. And they just haven't been able to do that consistently. So you can probably get Ramondre Stevenson for basically nothing at this point. And it's not a bad investment to make because I still think the best is yet to come. Will he get back to the level he was at last year? It doesn't seem like that's possible. But
No.
if they start to throw him the ball a little bit more, which I don't understand why they're not trying to do that. That's the one thing at least the Joe Thomas and not whatever was his name. Joe the idiots
Burrow.
that were on the team last year.
Joe Burrow.
No.
Joe Judge.
Joe Judge. And
Matt
Matt
Patricia?
Thomas Schaefer.
what Matt Patricia and Joe Judge were doing was at least getting Ramondre Stevenson the ball in the passing game, and that was somewhat working for them.
For him, yeah. All right, let's go.
It was working for his fantasy value. I don't think it was working for the Patriots offense.
It's not been a big Bill O'Brien thing.
Well,
but,
let's put it this way: their offense last year is better than what it is right now. They were actually scoring points last year.
let's go to the Saints here. Is anybody concerned at all, at least in the short term, about Chris Olave? I know he had the catch today, but he had something like 10 yards, and that's 2 bad
2
games.
for 12. He had a big catch that was ruled incomplete. Yeah, I'm not that worried about him. I don't know if he's ever going to make that leap to being a top 5, maybe top 10 fantasy receiver.
Who?
Chris Olave.
I mean, his quarterback's got a shoulder injury. That's the biggest issue right now. He was playing great before Derek Carr suffered the AC sprain.
Was it Chris or Heath? One of you guys said this morning that based on what you had been reading, I think it was Chris, that this injury he should be able to get back to full strength or close to it fairly quickly.
That wasn't me.
Okay. It was me. No, it was Heath. It was Chris. I mean, okay. Kamara, another big game. Good for him. Let's go to the Pittsburgh Steelers upset win against the Ravens. It kind of stole this one. Lifeless for so long. I benched George Pickens, and I hate myself for it. Huge game for him, and he was started in 52% of leagues, so a lot of you hate yourself for it. Good. Join the club. Heath, believe it or not, on this game.
I didn't know that you hated yourself, but I was going to go a little salt in the wound. George Pickens is the most valuable Steeler in fantasy rest of season.
Believe it.
I don't believe it.
You're going to say Deontay. Yeah.
I'm interested to see how that one plays out. Heath, what about you? What would you vote?
I don't know. Have we heard any hint that Deontay's almost back?
I think they're hoping he's going to be back after their bye week. So they have a bye in week 6, and he can return in week 7.
I think
week 6 would actually be the 4th week. So if they were playing in week 6, he could return. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is the 4th week.
He's eligible, right? Yeah.
He's eligible next week.
All right.
I'd lean towards the guy who's healthy right now.
You know, Jamie, you like Zay Flowers a lot, and he ended up with a good game. He could have had a bigger game. It was a better call, I think, than with the fantasy points. I don't know. I honestly don't know how Dave and Heath felt about Zay Flowers. I just know on the show this morning, Jamie kept telling people to start Zay Flowers. But any thoughts on like Flowers and Andrews? Anything changed for you guys? Say Flowers had 5 for 73 on 11 targets. Andrews 65 yards on 10 targets. So that was good to see. At least the targets were there.
You mentioned it. The lack of some of the drops and the lack of touchdowns for both those guys when they both had opportunities. I think it's just you play the number 1 receiver against the Steelers on a weekly basis, so you don't have that next week. But this is now 5 straight weeks worth at least 13 PPR points. This is the low total. It was 16 PPR points or more in the first 4 games. So they're struggling to defend number 1 receivers, guys that are getting the most targets. And so I don't know if that's going to change with what their corners look like. Maybe once they start to get a little bit healthier with Cam Hayward coming back, if that happens anytime soon. Interior pressure up front, but it's a secondary that's not great. So Flowers took advantage of the matchup to a certain degree, and I think he'll continue to live in this range when he's not scoring touchdowns. So a good number 2, number 3 PPR wide receiver.
The theory I'm working with is that whenever they can't run the ball efficiently, you're going to see more targets for Zay Flowers. And I don't know how many screens he had today, but that's like half of what his routes have been this year. I know he had 2 drops, and that wasn't the most that any Ravens player had. Andrews had 3. They combined for 7. If you started Lamar Jackson, it was rough. But 7 drops from the Ravens receivers. You should have had a better game from Zay Flowers. He did give you a lot of targets. Good flex game for him. I don't know if he's going to be the one that helped you win in week number 5.
No, but David Montgomery and Jared Goff may have. Detroit 42, Carolina 24, Heath.
Mm-hmm.
Jameson Williams should be on the most dropped list this week.
No.
But what does it take? Like what do you need to see from Jameson Williams to continue having any optimism in him?
I don't think that they expected him to be on the active roster this week. I mean, this came down last week that the suspension was being reduced, and so they haven't seen him. He wasn't in the building. So look what Jonathan Taylor just did. I mean, there's these guys take time to get, back up to game speed. And so should it have been a better game because there was no Amon-Ra St. Brown and no Jahmyr Gibbs? Sure, you might have expected a big play or two, or at least some better target potential. But they had a game plan that was probably installed, and I don't know. I'm not gonna panic if there's somebody out. Like if you're talking about picking up the Cardinals' backup running back because James Conner's out, or we're talking about picking up Deontay Foreman because there's no Khalil Herbert. Yes, you're dropping Jameson Williams. He's the worst player on your roster. I get that. But if you can hold him, you hold him.
He played 28 snaps, same as Josh Reynolds. Ran 15 routes. Had 2 catches. Had 1 drop. The drop was kind of ugly. I feel like we're gonna. I don't mind if you hold on to Jameson Williams, but if 3 weeks go by and nothing's doing, like when you get to the Lions bye, that's week 9.
Like
if
he's
there's nothing
rostered
there. I almost wonder if you just cut bait. And
he's rostered in like 30% more leagues than Quentin Johnston right now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I need to clarify something for this show. It might just be one guy who's freaking out in our chat, but when Heath says these, necessarily believe it. He's posing it as a question, okay? So Heath is not sitting here telling you, it's like, this guy is killing you right now. Come on, Heath, you're an expert and you say this. Like, Heath is just giving us a topic to talk about. I just want everyone to understand that. He's not giving his opinion that you should drop.
That's really nice of you, Adam. Thank you. But I think that's a good question, like Quentin Johnston versus Jameson Williams.
Yeah, I think I'm ready for Johnston.
Yeah, me too.
That's fine if that's the type of player you want to buy into. They're basically the same. I mean, it's not going to be. You're not going to get 7-8 catches for 120 yards consistently. You're going to get 3 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown, and that's going to be the type of player that these guys are.
Is this not the case of the devil you know versus the devil you don't?
We don't know anything about these guys.
I think we kind of know about Jameson.
No, we don't.
Well, how do we
came
know
back from an ACL tear last year as a rookie? Like, what do we know?
All right, we've talked about Miles Sanders. We talked about Adam Thielen. I think I'm good here. Let's go to Atlanta 21 and Houston 19. Heath, what opinion are you going to give us of yours right now?
This one's so gross, but I do think maybe I'm just late to it. Maybe everyone's just say, yeah, obviously. Like Jonnu Smith actually matters in fantasy football. There are 12 PPR fantasy points today.
Well, he had a fumble. So I think
so 10
got knocked down to
okay.
10.
12 positive points.
I can't believe that we're moving on to the Falcons game and the first name that we're bringing up is Jonnu and not Kyle Pitts, who had a good game, double-digit targets.
So did Ritter. I mean, they actually threw the ball okay.
Yeah, they continue to put themselves in situations where they can't run the ball crazy, and they've got to rely on Desmond Ritter to throw. And Ritter was actually okay today.
By the way, Heath, I started Jonnu Smith in Scott Fishbowl. He scored 24.7 points.
So that answers the question. Yes, he matters. Adam's starting him in the Scott Fishbowl.
I think he matters as like a bye-week replacement tight end at this point, but eventually he'll turn into a pumpkin. Now, the same thing could happen to Kyle Pitts too, but at least we're moving in a good direction with Pitts. This is a really good sign.
Is it though? Because I need more than one game from Kyle
Of course,
Pitts.
but
right.
Let's put it this way. If he had another game where he catches 3 balls for 25 yards, no one's going to start him. People are going to drop him, and no one will be crazy to pick him up. So those who were patient with Kyle Pitts, at least there's something to look forward to. There's something there. And they play Washington next week, Tampa Bay after that, Tennessee after that. I don't know. I don't know if these are great matchups, but I think they'll have a tough time running in 2 of them, which means that Riddle will have to throw.
Don't say, oh, come on. Bijan, man. Bijan.
Well, Bijan can catch the ball.
No kidding. Yeah, what a catch. All right, let's talk. The Texans are always so interesting. What do you guys make of Dameon Pierce right now? 20 carries. He has really had a gauntlet of a schedule because the Falcons are clearly not a layup, and they're a pretty good run defense.
No, they were number 2 in fewest fantasy points allowed coming into this game.
Yeah. So does it get any easier? I don't know. These are the Saints that a bye. Then it gets a little easier. But buy low on Dameon Pierce. Jamie, you can take that one.
again, the value is as low and cratered as it will probably ever be. So sure, if somebody's willing to give up on him, especially if you're, looking at, okay, Saints and then bye week, anytime you're 5-0, 4-1 coming off of this week, 3-2, and you love your team, these are the type of players you go get either to put on your bench, or if you need to, fill in as a number 2 running back as a starter. We always keep saying when you go hero RB or zero RB, you got to wait for the waiver wire claim. You could go make a trade, especially if you have a lot of wide receiver depth for somebody that's struggling at that position. So I think the best of Dameon Pierce is yet to come. He got 2 offensive linemen back today. I don't know if everybody came out of the game healthy, but CJ Stroud has been awesome. They just ran into a spot where they couldn't get touchdowns and settled for field goals today. But this offense is continuing to be productive. I don't think it's going to change. As you said, the schedule is going to get lighter after their bye week. So yes, buy low if you can.
All right, let's hit our next game here, Heath. And that would be, oh, we can skip this one.
Great defensive effort from the Giants today.
Yeah. Oh, how could you
They
They
got
got some huge plays.
They did. They got their first 2 takeaways of the season.
Their first
Actually,
touchdown
3.
in the first
3.
half.
It was a pick 6.
Yep.
Yeah.
They have yet to score an offensive touchdown in the first half.
Good for
Which leads right into our believe it or not.
them.
You should go sell Darren Waller this week. Sell him to somebody who doesn't have a good tight end. Let them think they have a good tight end stream. You'll get something pretty similar, and you could have a starter somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
You can try. You can try.
Yeah.
Yep.
What does this offense look like when they get Andrew Thomas and Saquon Barkley back? Do you guys have any faith in the Giants to be?
Well, then, whew,
their 2
look
best
out.
players. It's their 2 best players.
It obviously is going to be better. Is it going to be better for Daniel Jones though? And that, like where is he at health wise coming off this game? When are those guys going to be back on the offensive line specifically? Sounds like Barkley's close, so it would be surprising if Barkley's not out there again next week, unless they're both looking at it and they're like, "Hey, Saquon, yeah, Daniel, what do you think? Let's just wait until everybody's back and then we'll get back out there." Like, it's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. They look like the worst team in football. So will those guys change everything? No. Will they help? Sure. So the flip side of what Heath is saying, which I don't know if he's being serious or not, is when everybody's healthy, does Darren Waller start to look better because there's more time for Daniel Jones to throw to him? So hopefully that's the case.
Well, how about the Dolphins? Dolphins are kind of interesting. It's like Tua has actually been slightly disappointing, I'd say. I mean, last week for sure. And this week he had what? He had like 22 points or something. 21.
I think disappointing based on the top 5 upside that we saw from him early, not disappointing based on where he's been drafted.
No, but it's like these running backs are spoiling a little bit of the fun for Tua. And Tyreek's amazing, but Waddle did catch a touchdown today, keeps getting end zone targets, but didn't do much with his targets. That's, are there enough mouths to feed? Are there too many mouths to feed in this offense, Dave, when you look at Mostert with everyone scoring touchdowns, but is it sustainable? What?
I mean, I think if you accept what today's game was like, then sure.
What is so funny? Like
they just keep scoring all these touchdowns.
They just keep scoring all these touchdowns.
It's so weird though.
Most Giants
fans a
thing
Jalen
ever.
Waddle question.
I don't think teams are supposed to score this many touchdowns.
No, but we're not used to the Dolphins being like a great running team, and now they're like the best running team in football. And they've got Tyreek Hill, and he's going to be awesome. And Tua's playing great. To me, this is a question about Jalen Waddle, and we're coming off of a game today. He had 10 targets. They made it a point to try and get him a touchdown. They did. Tua tried to get him a touchdown again, and he got picked off. That was the play that went. I think that was the pick 6. So I'm nervous if I've got Jalen Waddle, and I don't know if this offense can support Tyreek, Waddle, Achane, Mostert from week to week to week. I know Tyreek Hill's going to get his numbers, but there could come a point where we get some lean games from everybody else. We've already gotten it from Waddle.
And Mostert last week was terrible, and he scored this week. I don't know. Is anyone going to buy Mostert? Because I'd kind of like to see if I could get a. Would you rather have, let's say, DeAndre Swift or Raheem Mostert?
That's not close. DeAndre Swift.
Yes, I agree.
Yep.
Okay. How about Dameon Pierce or Mostert?
Mostert.
I think that comes down to what your team is right now. Because Mostert was a guy that was drafted late or maybe picked up off waivers, depending how things started, how things went at the start of the season. Most likely a late round pick. So if he's not someone that's starting for you, is this sustainable for a 31-year-old guy that may get Jeff Wilson back? So I would not trade those guys straight up for each other. But if I could trade Mostert for Pierce and something else, I would do that.
Right. You'll get Mostert will carry more value than Pierce, at least for the coming week. And by the way, when Jeff Wilson comes back, if these guys are healthy, Jeff Wilson's not going to play. It's going to be more Achane and Mostert.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. He's not going to play more than the other two guys, but I think he will have some semblance of a role.
I think the offense will go from high octane to, I don't know, mud.
I mean, Jeff Wilson was better than Raheem Mostert at the end of last season.
He was, but this offense is just cooking right now, Adam.
But wait, was I supposed to like play something?
Well, because you were complaining about them scoring so much.
I'm not complaining. Tennessee 16, Indianapolis 23. I actually do have to tell you guys that we have to go a little faster here. So Colts 23, Tennessee 16. Let's finish up.
We talked about a lot of these guys, but one guy we didn't talk about, Josh Downs, 6 for 97. Is he a waiver wire priority?
Should be. Yes.
Especially with Gardner. That's
yes.
the best game.
Yes.
Yeah.
He had a big catch with Richardson too.
But I mean, he's had 2 big games with Gardner Minshew.
That's
well,
fair.
He actually had 3 targets with Richardson and 3. He had 6 targets, right? 6 for 97 on 6 targets. He had 3 with Richardson and 3 with Minshew. He had 57 yards with Richardson, 40 with Minshew. But week 2 or week 3 with Minshew, whenever it was, 8 catches, 57 yards on 12 targets. So
yep. He'll be a low-key priority at wide receiver for PPR managers.
Cincinnati 34, Arizona 20.
That was fast.
Timeout. I don't want to. I know we got to go faster. I don't want to shortchange Jonathan Taylor. We did talk about it a little bit earlier, but give me like a rest of season kind of thought on Taylor.
Why'd the Colts pay Taylor when Zach Moss is better?
I mean, I'm still going to rank Taylor ahead of Zach Moss next week.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Probably about like I did this week, like somewhere between 24 and 28 for Taylor, I guess. I don't know.
So when I asked you guys where you draft him, if we were starting a draft season right now, I think you said either round 2 or round 3, depending on the analyst.
Yep.
What are you thinking now for Taylor?
Same.
Yeah. 7. No.
All right. Cincinnati 34, Arizona 20.
Jamar Chase is the number 1 wide receiver in Dynasty again. The point being, because I can see Dave kind of like pausing on this.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think about who else I put up there.
They are so close. And I think it's a point worth making. They just kind of keep going back and forth. When you're worried about Jamar Chase playing with Joe Burrow for a few weeks without a calf, Justin Jefferson's easily the number 1. When you're worried about Jefferson missing a couple weeks with a hamstring, Chase is probably the number 1 again.
I don't know. I think it's Puka.
Tank for Caleb, Minnesota.
All right.
Joe Mixon, Adam. 67 of his 84 carries have been between the tackles.
It's unbelievable.
4 yards per carry on them.
Oh, how are you going to be a dynamic player if you're just slamming into the middle of the defense every play? Like, give me a break.
You know who leads the NFL in carries between the tackles?
Yeah, I bet it's DeAndre Swift.
It's Zach Moss.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess.
And Montgomery is second.
Joe Mixon's just not dynamic. Actually, I think the other side, the Cardinals are a little bit more interesting here. Marquise Brown, another touchdown. He was started in 79% of leagues. Do you buy, sell, hold on Marquise Brown?
You're buying high. I don't know if he's the type of player you want to buy high on.
Right.
So I would say hold.
Is he in the same boat as Adam Thielen, as a guy who's putting up good numbers, but no one really respects it?
I think I'd rather have Thielen.
Yeah, I might rather have Thielen too, but the question is more about if you put your hand over the name and you just looked at the stats, you'd say, "Oh, I'd love to have that guy on my fantasy team." And then you take your hand away and you see it's Marquise Brown and you see the team and you go, "Oh." So I don't know. I think if you've got Brown, enjoy the 16 plus PPR. It's 4 straight games now with 16 plus. Man, keep riding with it. Keep going.
I would, if you tell me that they're healthy rest of season, Thielen's the easy choice, but I just fear a Thielen
Sure.
injury of some
Oh,
sort.
I'm not
It's
trying to
more-
compare the two.
No. But one of you guys asked, who would you rather have rest of season? So I would take Marquise Brown just because I trust, as shaky as his health is, I trust it more than I trust Thielen's.
Philadelphia 23 and the Rams 14.
Cooper Kupp is a top 3 wide receiver rest of season.
Yes, sir.
Ooh. You got to kick one of the 3 out. Jefferson, Chase, or Hill.
Well, we don't know if Jefferson's even going to be healthy.
I'm sorry, I can't do it. I don't think so.
Okay, fine. He's 4th.
I don't know. Honestly, let's give a little love to AJ Brown, who's also in this game, who's getting like 14 targets every week right now and just freaking crushing it. I'd probably take Kupp, but is he 4th? Is he 4th?
He's 4th. That's the way he was drafted before the hamstring injury. 3rd or 4th.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome today.
Steps back in, 12 targets. Looks like everything is right back to where it was. Breakfast was great.
Yeah. All right.
And then, I mean, the nice thing is that they both produced.
Right.
Is AJ Brown 5th? Is Amon-Ra St. Brown 5th? Is Puka Nacua 5th?
Puka Nacua is not 5th.
No.
Who's 5th?
Probably St. Brown. Could be Devontae if he has a huge game against.
It might be Devontae.
I'll take AJ Brown. That's going.
All right.
Let's see if Romeo Dobbs has another game.
And okay, Kyron Williams.
Diggs.
Stephon Diggs.
Oh yeah, what the hell? I'm so sorry. I don't even know why I just didn't think about that.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
Kyron Williams. I think it was just a bad game, but really not that. Like 13 carries for 53 yards against the Eagles is actually something to celebrate, and just they fell behind.
It's the passing game work that you feared was going to go away, and it went away.
It did. 85% of the snaps, all but 1 3rd and 4th down. 1 of 2 snaps inside the 10.
They only had the ball for 22 minutes though, so that
you'll overlook this and you'll start them against Arizona next week.
2 more games. Chiefs 27, Vikings 20.
You should go right back to Alexander Madison against the Bears next week.
Oh yeah.
He did have a terrible drop.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
Really terrible drop. Cam Akers got what, 3 series?
He did.
Yeah.
But CJ Ham was playing the 3rd and 4th downs. That's their fullback. Madison only 54% of the snaps, but can't argue with the workload.
They also,
when he gets this week, he didn't get a lot of it.
Had the design on the touchdown throw to him too, so that's encouraging that was a
right
run up for him.
Yeah.
We spoke to Tom Spencer before the game, and this was the game that Tony Romo and Jim Nantz did, and he said that they want to get not only Cam Akers going a little bit more, but also Ty Chandler, and that led to a special teams play. But he did tell us that expect to see more of Justin Ross, and I think this is probably the most snaps that he played so far this season, and that Raji Rice was somebody that they were really excited about, and you saw another positive game for him too. So I think it's tiering, in terms of the size of leagues you'd be looking at those 2 guys, but Raji Rice is going to be a huge priority, and the same for probably KJ Osborne if there's no Justin Jefferson.
Right.
Last game, Jets Broncos. Jets 31, Denver 21.
Congrats, Nate Hackett.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson and Jerry Jeudy are both starts against the Chiefs on Thursday.
Oh
no,
I don't want to.
I'm sorry to tell you this, Heath, but the Chiefs have a good defense. Like maybe a very good defense. You don't seem to want to accept this about your beloved Chiefs, but they actually have a really good defense, I think.
Yeah, I think was the last game that Jerry Jeudy played against the Chiefs like 150 yards and 3 touchdowns?
Was it 35-0 or 25-0 in that game? But that might have been the other. Jerry Jeudy, I think, had 2 big games against the Chiefs, but I mean, it's a valid question, but I don't look at the Chiefs as like start them against the Chiefs.
I don't think so at all. But Jerry Jeudy looked like the number 1 wide receiver for Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson's been a top 10 quarterback.
Actually, one wide receiver.
if you saw Sean Payton and Russell Wilson's exchange after he fumbled,
I did. Yeah,
I don't know how much longer Sean Payton is starting Russell Wilson. Like, this is bad. It's really bad. Like, this team.
I guess
stinks.
it wasn't Paul Hackett's fault.
This team
or Nate
absolutely stinks.
Yeah, they're bad.
Yeah.
Who's worse? Who's worse? Who's the worst team in football, Jamie?
I would probably start with the Panthers and work my way up from there. So
Oh.
Panthers would be the worst. And then I probably would go to the Giants next, and then maybe the Broncos.
I think the Giants would lose today.
How lucky were the Giants to beat the Cardinals?
They
Like-
played 2 good quarters of the season right now. The
Or
Giants.
unlucky, really.
They had Andrew Thomas and Saquon Barkley, dude. I'm telling you. All right. I think that's about it for this game and this slate. So have a wonderful day, everybody. Beyond the Box Score tomorrow. Break down all the interesting storylines. And, of course, Dallas and San Francisco. It looks like these running backs are trading fumbles, which is always a great thing. For Dave, Heath, Jamie, and Thomas, I'm Adam. Have a great evening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.